Boston winters are harsh. Looking out from the window of my design studio, surrounded by downtown office buildings, I feel a warmth in my heart as I gaze at Newbury Street decorated with Christmas ornaments. I, Jennifer Lawrence, have been running my interior design company, Creative Space, in this city for 10 years. I've finally established my position in the industry and achieved a stable life. Jenny, I've got the presentation materials for the Crawford estate, called Martha, my assistant. She has been working as my right hand for 5 years. Thank you, Martha. I'll check them today, I said with a smile as I received the materials. Tomorrow is a big presentation. It's a large project to renovate the vacation home of the Crawford family, Boston's prominent figures. If this project succeeds, the company's reputation will rise even further. However, behind my professional face, my heart felt a little heavy. The day after tomorrow is my birthday. As usual, I didn't expect to hear from my family. My father Thomas runs a small insurance agency in Phoenix. My mother Carol is a well-known figure in the local social circle. And my sister Ashley has experienced 2 divorces and always leads a tumultuous life. On the surface, we pretend to be a close family, but in reality, complex relationships lie beneath. Since childhood, I was taught that taking care of the family is expected. I somehow managed my college tuition through part-time jobs and scholarships, and after graduation, I worked during the day while studying design again at night. It was all through my own efforts. Meanwhile, Ashley received full support from our parents and attended an expensive private university. Still, she dropped out halfway and her career afterward was unstable. Yet she continued to receive our parents' adoration. After I graduated from college, my family's attitude began to change subtly. As I gradually became successful, my parents started to see me as the reliable eldest daughter. Especially in recent years, my parents' financial situation hasn't been good, and occasionally they would ask for assistance. Always saying it was a temporary loan, but it was never repaid. The phone rang. An unfamiliar number. Jennifer Lawrence speaking. Jenny, it's been a while. It's Frank. Hearing the voice, I couldn't help but smile. It was my mother's brother, Frank. After losing his wife, he lives alone in a small town in Arizona. He always sits in the corner at family gatherings and rarely speaks. However, since childhood, I've somehow felt close to him. Uncle Frank, how are you? Oh, as good as my age allows. I heard your birthday is coming up. Congratulations. You remembered. Thank you. I sent a small gift. It should arrive tomorrow. Those words warmed my heart. There was someone in my family who remembered my birthday. Thank you so much, Uncle. You're welcome. By the way, have you been in touch with the family lately? Not much. They all seem busy. On the other end of the phone, Uncle Frank let out a small sigh. I see. Well, they have their own ways of living. But, Jenny, you're doing well. I'm proud of you. Those were words I had wanted to hear for a long time. Words I never heard from my parents. Uncle. Well, I shouldn't keep you. Take care of yourself. I'll be in touch. Even after hanging up, Uncle's words stayed with me. Uncle Frank had always watched over me from afar. At family gatherings, whenever I was disregarded by my parents and sister, he was the only one who gave me a look of understanding. Outside the office window, snow had begun to fall. I took a sip of coffee and tried to focus on the presentation materials for the Crawford estate when my cell phone rang again. This time it was a familiar number, from my mother. I took a deep breath and answered the phone. Happy birthday, Jenny. We wanted to make it a special night, so we've all planned something. Carol's cheerful voice came through the phone. I was so surprised that I was at a loss for words for a moment. It's rare for them to even remember my birthday, let alone plan something. La Maison in Beverly Hills. This Friday at 7. We'll all be waiting for you. La Maison. I raised my voice involuntarily. It's the most upscale French restaurant in Boston, famous for costing no less than $200 per person. Special days deserve special treatment. You always work so hard. Mom, thank you. I'm so happy. My mother didn't seem to notice the confusion in my voice. See you Friday then. Wear a lovely dress. After hanging up, I sat at my desk, unable to move. Something was off. My parents and sister suddenly wanting to celebrate my birthday. And at such an expensive restaurant. Martha came in with coffee. What's wrong? Did you see a ghost? My family wants to celebrate my birthday. Dinner at La Maison. That's wonderful. Martha was delighted, but she quickly noticed my expression. Wait, aren't you happy? Honestly, I'm surprised. They've never remembered my birthday before. People change, Martha shrugged. Why not enjoy it? Those words brightened my mood a little. Maybe this was a chance for family relations to improve. Friday evening, I successfully completed the presentation for the Crawford estate and left the office early. I bought a new dress for the special night and had my hair done. Despite Boston's winter cold, I chose a pale blue silk dress. Mom had said, a lovely dress, so I splurged a little. At 7 p.m., I arrived at La Maison. In the entrance of the upscale restaurant, where crystal chandeliers sparkled, I took a deep breath for a moment. Reservation for Lawrence. The manager nodded elegantly and led me in. In a corner of the private section, my father, mother, and sister were already seated. A bottle of expensive champagne was chilling on the table. Jenny. Ashley stood up and embraced me more affectionately than usual. Dressed in a flashy pink dress, she looked especially radiant tonight. Happy birthday, my girl, my father got up with an unusually warm smile and kissed my cheek. Sit down, Jenny. We just opened the champagne, my mother elegantly guided me to the sofa. She looked every bit the social queen she always was. Cheers, my father raised his glass high. To our family's success, Jennifer. I laughed a bit awkwardly and clinked my glass. It had been a long time since my family welcomed me so warmly. It must have been hard to get a reservation here. I started the conversation. Yes, but it's a special night. Worth it, my mother smiled. Dishes were brought one after another. An amuse-bouche lavishly using truffles, foie gras tranche, lobster bisque. My mother and Ashley ordered one wine after another. My father, who usually doesn't drink, ordered cognac. The conversation flowed surprisingly pleasantly, with stories about my design company's success and Ashley's recent dates. Jenny, your company is growing more and more, my mother said. I'm really proud. Thank you, Mom, I was surprised but genuinely pleased. By the way, how did that Hamptons project go? My father showed unusual interest in my work. It went well. The client was very happy. That's amazing. Ashley said loudly. My sister is a huge success as a designer. All the dishes, from the Wagyu filet steak main course to the Grand Marnier soufflé dessert, were perfect. Surrounded by gourmet food and family warmth, I was spending a truly happy time for the first time in a long while. Thank you so much. Such a wonderful birthday present, I'm moved, I expressed my gratitude. My mother smiled. Her eyes, perhaps due to the champagne, were unusually bright. We should be thanking you. Thanks for the treat. At that moment, everything felt as if it had frozen. It took me a few seconds to understand the meaning of her words. At the same time, the waitress placed a black leather folder in front of me. Your bill, madam. I was confused for a moment. The meaning of my mother's words, "we planned," suddenly became clear. They had intended from the start to have me pay. My father and Ashley began to laugh out loud. "Come on, you're successful, this level should be easy for you, right?" Ashley said. Looking at the bill, it was about $850. 2 bottles of special wine, expensive cognac, and a selection of the finest dishes. "Are you joking?" I asked quietly. I couldn't stop my voice from trembling. "What are you talking about? You're a successful designer, aren't you? You can afford this much for your family," my mother said calmly. There was not a trace of guilt in her expression. "We're proud of you, Jenny," my mother continued. "That's why we wanted to give you the opportunity to express your gratitude." I felt as if the room temperature had suddenly dropped. "I understand." My voice was surprisingly calm, even to myself. My hands were shaking with anger, but I maintained a composed expression. I took out my credit card and signed the bill. My family was still laughing and beginning to plan the next drinking party. Their conversation continued as if I wasn't even there. "Jenny, how about having Ashley's birthday here next month too?" my mother said as if it wasn't her concern. "That private room was lovely, wasn't it?" I slowly stood up. I felt something breaking irreparably inside me. I had been used by them many times before, but tonight's event was unforgivable. It wasn't just about the money. The reality that they didn't see me as a human being, as family, finally reached my heart. "Don't contact me again," I said quietly. My father said with a laugh, "Come on, it was just a joke, Jenny. Don't take it so seriously." "A joke?" My voice rose slightly. "This is a joke. Pretending to celebrate my birthday when you intended to have me pay from the start. How dramatic. Can't you take a joke?" My mother looked at me with contemptuous eyes. "We're family, right? Since you've been successful, isn't it natural to give a little back to us?" "Give back?" I laughed in disbelief. "Who helped me when I went to college? Who supported me when I studied design again? I did everything on my own." Bringing up such old matters, Ashley rolled her eyes. "Always thinking about yourself. I've experienced divorce and it was really tough." "That's right," my mother agreed. "Ashley went through a really difficult time. Shouldn't we help each other as family?" I looked at them. This family hadn't changed at all. Since I was a child, I was always second. Ashley's needs were always prioritized, and I was expected to resolve my own issues as the responsible child. "This is the last time. Goodbye." When I left the restaurant, I never looked back. Outside, the cold Boston air hit my cheeks. But that coldness was nothing compared to the coldness I felt in my heart. With trembling hands, I took out my cell phone and blocked the numbers of my father, mother, and Ashley. On the way home in a taxi, I couldn't stop crying. For years, I had wanted to repair my relationship with my family. I had sought their love and wanted to be acknowledged. But tonight, I had to accept that it was all an illusion. When I arrived at my apartment, there was a small package at the entrance. It was a birthday present from Uncle Frank. Opening it inside, it was an old silver photo frame. It contained a picture of him with his late wife. And there was a short letter. "Dear Jennifer. The most important thing in life is true bonds. You have always been honest and kind. Believe in your path and move forward. I am proud of you. With love, Uncle Frank." I held the frame to my chest and cried. That night, I felt as if I had lost my family, but at the same time, I felt like I had found myself. The next morning, surprisingly, there was a call from my father. Despite having blocked him, he called directly to my company office. "Jennifer Lawrence speaking," I answered, pretending to be calm. Jenny, about last night, my father's voice was filled with anger. What kind of attitude was that? Embarrassing your family like that? Embarrassed? I asked in disbelief. To behave like that in front of the restaurant staff, what do you think of us? Dad, that's enough. Don't contact me again. We didn't raise you. Without us, you wouldn't be where you are now. At those words, I laughed quietly. Do you really think so? Then tell me. How did you support me? Specifically. On the other end of the phone, my father was at a loss for words. Just as I thought. Goodbye, Dad. From that day on for several weeks, I immersed myself in work. The Crawford Estate project was a great success, and new requests kept coming in. On the surface, I acted as if nothing had happened, but at night, sometimes the faces of my family would come to mind, and my chest would hurt. However, I never regretted my decision. A month later, Martha rushed into the office looking flustered. Jenny, something terrible is happening. What she handed me was a local social newsletter. It contained a photo of a charity party hosted by my mother. Ashley, standing next to my mother, was holding photos of the interior of a famous movie actor's home that I had designed. The article read, Ashley Lawrence's talent recognized, designs Hollywood star's home. What is this? I stared at the page in shock. That's terrible. Martha expressed her anger. That was your work. Why? I was at a loss for words. It was a project from 2 years ago. One of the first big jobs my company had handled, which greatly enhanced the company's reputation. That afternoon, there was a call from Uncle Frank. Jenny, have you heard the recent rumors about the Lawrence family? Yes, Uncle. It seems Ashley is claiming my work as her own. That's awful. Frank's voice contained anger. Carol and Thomas seem to be going along with it too. I can imagine. Mom has always been on Ashley's side. They probably think you won't speak up. As usual. But this time is different, I resolved. I won't stay silent. A few days later, I consulted with a lawyer and sent a formal letter of protest. At the same time, I had an interview published in an industry magazine, where I spoke in detail about my career and works. In the article, I also mentioned the project for the actor's home and explained how the work came to be. The day after the article was published, my mother called the company. This time the secretary answered and said, Ms. Lawrence is out of town. But she didn't give up. Jennifer, why are you doing this? An email arrived. Are you trying to hurt your family? Ashley is crying her eyes out. She had just caught a break. I took a deep breath and replied. Mom, if speaking the truth hurts the family, then what is family in the first place? I won't be used anymore. I'm just protecting my work and efforts. After pressing the send button, a strange sense of liberation came over me. 6 months passed. I organized my life in Boston and moved my new base to New York. Martha came along, and Creative Space established a new office in Manhattan. Having cut ties with my family, I felt a strange sense of liberation and at the same time, a deep sense of loss. The first project in New York was to renovate an old warehouse in Brooklyn into an art gallery. The work was prominently featured in industry magazines, and my company's reputation grew even further. One afternoon, while having a meeting at the office, there was an internal call from the front desk. Ms. Lawrence, there's a call from a Mr. Frank Wilson. Put him through. I picked up the receiver with joy. Uncle Frank? However, the voice on the other end wasn't my uncle's. Jennifer Lawrence? This is Michael Cohen, Frank Wilson's attorney. There was a gravity in that voice. My heart began to race. Yes, that's me. Has something happened to my uncle? I'm sorry to inform you that Frank passed away last week from a heart attack in his sleep. The hand holding the phone trembled. Uncle Frank had been like the last family for me. I'm contacting you as the executor of the will, the lawyer continued. Frank has named you as the executor of his will and also as the primary heir. I was so surprised that I was at a loss for words. I thought Uncle Frank was a simple pensioner living alone. The funeral will be held the day after tomorrow in Phoenix. I'll send you the details by email. After hanging up, I stood by the office window, gazing at the New York skyline. I remembered my last conversation with Uncle Frank. A month ago, he said, "Life is short. Don't lose sight of what really matters." At the time, I thought it was just wisdom about life, but now I wonder if those were words of farewell. 2 days later, I stood in a small church in Phoenix. Surprisingly, many people had gathered for the funeral. Uncle Frank seemed to have been respected in the local community. At the entrance of the church, I suddenly saw my father, mother, and Ashley. Seeing them for the first time in 6 months, I felt a pain like my chest was being squeezed. They noticed me too and were visibly disturbed. During the funeral, we sat at a distance and didn't exchange words. As the pastor spoke about Frank's life, I quietly shed tears. I learned how his kindness and quiet strength had touched the hearts of many people. After the funeral, we moved to the lawyer's office. Not just me, but my father and mother were also called. Ashley accompanied them. "I will now begin reading Frank Wilson's will," Michael Cohen said in a solemn voice. In the heavy atmosphere of the office, we sat in silence. "I, Frank Wilson, in sound mind, leave the following will," the lawyer read the document. "I transfer all my property, real estate, stocks, and cash assets to my sole heir, Jennifer Lawrence Wilson." The room fell silent. "The total amount is approximately $2.7 million, the lawyer added. "What?" My father raised his voice. "This is wrong. Frank said he would leave something for us too." My mother sat with a pale face. Ashley was clearly shocked. The lawyer began to explain about Frank's assets. My uncle had been steadily investing in stocks since he was young, and also in real estate. He had built up assets unimaginable from his simple lifestyle. Furthermore, Frank has left a video message, the lawyer pointed to the screen. What appeared was Uncle Frank's gentle smile. He spoke quietly to the camera. "Jennifer, I have been watching you all along. Your sincerity, diligence, and consideration for others. No matter what the rest of the family says, you are an honest and kind person. I know about what happened on your birthday last year. That was the last straw." He took a deep breath and continued. "Carol, Thomas, you are my family. However, I have always been disappointed in how you treated Jennifer. Not recognizing her talent and efforts, and using her. That is the reason for my decision. I entrust my assets to Jennifer. She will use them correctly. Jennifer, you lacked family love. But you are a person worthy of being loved enough. Believe in your path and move forward." When the video ended, the room was again enveloped in silence. I couldn't hold back my tears. Uncle Frank had cared for and understood me more than I thought. "This is unfair," my mother suddenly stood up and shouted. "We are family. Frank is my brother." "The will is legally valid," the lawyer calmly replied. "Frank's intention is clear." My father approached me. In his eyes, there was anger and something calculating. "Jenny, let's talk as a family. That night was just a joke. Can't you forgive us?" At those words, I quietly stood up. "Family?" I looked straight into my father's eyes. "What you taught me was that family is a relationship where you use each other. But Uncle Frank showed me a different form of family. I will use Uncle Frank's legacy to establish a scholarship foundation for young people who want to study art but don't have the opportunity. A foundation bearing his name." My mother was furious. Why? You are so selfish. Selfish? I laughed quietly. That night, at the restaurant, what did you do? Pretending to celebrate my birthday and making me pay for an expensive meal. Is that family? Ashley opened her mouth. Jenny, we were wrong. But it's too late, I said firmly. As Uncle said, that was the last straw. Before leaving the room, I turned back. As Uncle Frank said, honesty and compassion are the true wealth. You have lost that. Outside, the strong Arizona sun greeted me. There was a sense that a new chapter had begun. With Uncle Frank's love and trust in my heart, I resolved to move forward. A few days later, back in New York, I began the process of establishing the Frank Wilson Art Scholarship Foundation. What I lost was significant, but what I gained was even greater. 2 years have passed since the establishment of the Frank Wilson Art Scholarship Foundation. New York's autumn is beautiful, and from my office with a view of the fall foliage in Central Park, I was reviewing the selection documents for the next scholarship recipients. So far, I have provided scholarships to 20 young artists and designers, and watching their growth has become my great joy. Jennifer, final confirmation for today's foundation anniversary event. Martha still supports me as my right hand, both in work and private life. Creative Space has also grown steadily and now has a staff of 30. Thank you, Martha. Everything in order? Yes, perfect. The venue and food are all set. The exhibition of the scholars' works is wonderful too. Leaving the foundation office and heading to the event venue, in the car, I was reflecting on the past 2 years while looking at the cityscape outside the window. The chain of changes that began from that decisive birthday night led my life in an unexpected direction. Arriving at the venue, the first group of scholarship recipients warmly welcomed me. Seeing them grown was the greatest joy. Ms. Lawrence, you changed my life, Maria, who was studying dance, hugged me. Next month, I'll audition for the New York Ballet Company. You'll be fine, Maria, I hugged her shoulders. Believe in your talent. In the photo exhibition corner set up in a corner of the venue, there was a smiling photo of Uncle Frank and panels introducing his life. I was proud to be able to carry on his will and support the dreams of many young people. When it was time for the speech, I stood on the stage. I am truly happy to celebrate the 2nd anniversary of the Frank Wilson Art Scholarship Foundation with all of you. As I looked around the venue, I gasped. Standing near the entrance was Ashley. When our eyes met, she nodded slightly. After finishing the speech, Ashley approached me. She had a more settled impression than before, without flashy clothes or makeup. You're doing something wonderful, Jenny. Ashley, why are you here? I saw it in the newspaper. And I wanted to see you. She looked down a little. I've been thinking a lot since then. We moved to a quiet corner of the venue. She began to speak. I've become estranged from our parents. After you left, they started to demand everything from me. I couldn't bear the pressure. I see, I said quietly. Dad and Mom. Dad's health has deteriorated. Mom is still desperately trying to maintain her position in social circles, but she doesn't have the influence she once had, Ashley smiled bitterly. After word about our company spread, many people started to distance themselves. And you? I work at a small gift shop. It's the first time I'm living on my own strength. There was a sincerity in her eyes that I had never seen before. It's difficult, but there's a sense of accomplishment. We stood silently side by side for a while. I came to apologize, Jenny, Ashley said quietly. I truly regret what I did to you. I finally realized how selfish I was. I took a deep breath and slowly exhaled. It's hard to forgive, Ashley. But I appreciate that you came here. I understand, she smiled. I just came because I was proud to see what you're doing. Uncle Frank chose the right person. As she was leaving, Ashley handed me a small envelope. Open it. Inside was a short letter written in my mother's handwriting. To Jennifer. I am proud of your success. I hope someday you can forgive us. From Mother. That night, back at my home in Manhattan, I was thinking while looking at the sunset sinking into the Hudson River from my balcony. The wounds may not be completely healed, but I no longer felt anger or hatred. That's probably a sign of growth. The last gift Uncle Frank gave me wasn't just money. It was an opportunity to know my worth and learn the meaning of true bonds. And now, I can pass that learning on to the next generation. Taking the phone, after hesitating for a while, I sent a short message to Ashley. How about coffee tomorrow? If there's anything to talk about. The path to true healing may be long, but I think I've taken the first step. Uncle Frank would surely smile.